You're listening to the Renegade Blitz, the best podcast for Steelers fans by Steelers fans. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
And welcome back to the Renegade Blitz podcast. It's just me, Polk and Brandon Walker here with you today. We're back with you to cover the end of the Steelers season in the Wildcard game, a blowout loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, 42-21. And yes, while it was a 3-touchdown lead in the final score there, I mean, really, outside of after that scoop and score by T.J. Watt, that was about it, really.
Yeah, it was. We was getting hyped up for a minute. We was on the color pass for the first half. It was like, maybe they do have a shot. Because everything was working that we said that should happen, happened. And then I guess that angered the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much else you could say about it in that situation. I mean, they played, I think, in short of not scoring an offensive touchdown until the fourth quarter, maybe earlier, I'm not really interested in remembering that, but an offensive score of any kind was really needed, and it just never came until it was already decided.
You're right. 2 first downs in the first half. But what do you think? I think the game changed. Even after the Kansas City scored that first touchdown, they still had a chance. Deontay dropped that 3rd and 2.
Yeah,
and after that, it was
came back.
Over.
Really, their touchdowns came in the third, late in the third, and midway through the fourth. So, yeah, I mean, you have your tough yardage catcher in Juju Smith-Schuster back for the first time in 12 games, and I don't know how to feel about it because it's just like, honestly, 5 for 26, he's not going to net you big yards anymore. The Steelers just don't have that top threat anymore. He's a guy that needs that. He's a support gunner, and just with the Steelers offense as constructed right now, it's not going to work out for him.
Honestly, I think he should come back. I mean, we're going to talk about this game, but everybody here are fans, and it's Martin Luther King weekend. They saw what they saw last night, so we're not going to go deep into why they lost. We all know why they lost. They don't have enough talent. But going back to Juju, I think he should come back. I think his presence could be needed here. Because we talked about, I think he could work well with Freiermuth. You said they needed 2 inside guys. Because if you're going to need that say if Mason Rudolph is going to be the starter next year, you're going to need somebody, you're going to be throwing a lot of short passes anyway. I mean, he might go out, throw it deep, better than Ben at this point, but it's not that much of a difference between Rudolph and Ben right now.
Yeah.
So, Freiermuth.
I mean, when you look at it, Smith-Schuster said this. It depends on the quarterback that they bring back to the Steelers. And there's just not any quarterback, really. I know that there were some Steelers saying, like, we'd love if Ben would come back, but I just don't think that's conducive to anything in sorts of having a team that they might make it here. They might make it back to the playoffs next year with Ben Roethlisberger, but they're not going to do anything.
I was like, I knew they were not going to do it. All this thing happened for them, and they did nothing with it. Nothing.
Any version of the Steelers over the last 5 years does something.
Yeah.
And the fact that there was just nothing. Saying they went out in the whimper is that offense is very, very lightly putting it.
It was bad.
I don't know what to call it. That wasn't a whimper. A whimper was at least like a shot at hope. It
was just a full face plant.
Yeah.
It was like they couldn't even get it. I would fire Canada. I think you should. If you're going to start clean on offense, you got to start clean on offense. Because I don't think I said Ben didn't respect him, which he doesn't. Still don't.
I think the last offensive coordinator he had respect for was probably Bruce Arians.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Ken Wisenhunt, but that was because he was very young and was a rookie.
Yeah, it was. But
maybe he respected Todd Haley at one point.
At one point, then that relationship went down probably around about 17.
Yeah, arguably his best season as a professional. I know he went for 5,000 yards just 3 years ago, but his best total season as a professional just off of the feeling for Ben Roethlisberger was 2014.
2014, yes. That was his prime year. And that was with Todd Haley. His best years was with Haley.
I feel like the offense still had like remnants of Todd Haley all around it. I felt like every time I seen this team go no huddle, it was like he was basically saying, we need Todd's playbook.
Right.
That's
it was. Is that, but who would tell, but who? Todd Haley is one of the best. I mean, he was good, but how do you fix this culture of the Steelers right now? Because I think, I always said, and I wrote an article which Chris is going to get eventually, that Ben was the problem with the overall culture. I think that culture changed when all the older guys on the defense left, and it basically became the Ben and Tomlin show.
Yeah.
At the heads. And then I said that, and this is when all the AB, Le'Veon drama happened. That's when they started talking a little bit more, had people like Mike Mitchell talking and everything like this, and start handling business. Their defense start dipping, and that intimidation level went down.
Dupree out and taking it around.
Sorry, that's my dad with the car stuff, but yeah.
So
yeah,
it's like one of the worst. So I think this is the opportunity. I said Thomas should be the head of football operations now. I don't know. See what other options you guys have. You want to bring somebody in house? Go ahead. I think if you're not going to make Tomlin the head of football ops, bring somebody from another organization. I think they need a fresh set of eyes. I know the Steeler way is the Steeler way, but sometimes that Steeler way runs dry. Look at the Giants, what they're going through.
Yeah, there's a certain point in which old school kind of goes away, and I like to believe that the Steelers did make a valiant attempt to change around a lot what they did, especially in the final years of Ben Roethlisberger. Like the tail end of his prime to right now, I think they legitimately tried to make moves that at one point made them feel that they could be a competitor for the Super Bowl. The problem is reality hit them in some situations. I mean, that offensive line wasn't good enough to be with this version of Ben. It might have worked something with Ben 7-8 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago if they in 2018, so 4 now. Maybe that would have been something back then, but it just wasn't conducive to winning now.
Yeah, they needed the guys that they had, Villanueva, DeCastro, Pouncey. They needed those guys this year. Even though they were older, they were probably better off having those guys this year.
I think they needed prime versions of them, but last year...
Well, primes aren't versions of them, but...
I'll put it to you like this. Sometimes when Ben had no choice but to hold on to the football, I felt that the offensive line did better. I felt that from a pass blocking standpoint, in some ways this offensive line did better. Not by much, but better than what it is, because he wasn't throwing it exactly like it was a quick draw offense last year. It was still quick draw, but I felt that there was a true beat, a true heartbeat before they threw the ball at times. That's just me.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think that line was just too old, and then I think that they retooled it much too late. I wonder how much that 2019 season influenced them in how they thought of that offensive line, and maybe the tail end was just right there.
So you're saying like the way they were protecting Rudolph and Dalvin Hodges back a couple years ago, thought they said, okay, this line is still pretty good. If Ben comes back to this version of the line, we'll be good. We'll be ready to roll. That's what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I felt if you put last year's Ben on that 19 team, that's a Super Bowl team.
All right.
That's a Super Bowl team. It's not the prettiest, but that line felt like it protected better. And I don't know if it was defenses deciding, hey, we're going to let Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges beat us. And good luck and congratulations and good luck to him. But
it's terrible.
I just don't know like what they were thinking. I think it was delusions of grandeur, which is another form of arrogance. But I would like to think they're not that arrogant. I'd like to think that they believe too much in their guys for them not to just take a look at the tea leaves and the trees around here and go, that's not enough.
No, this franchise is arrogant. It's been, and I think a lot of that stems from Ben. Ben is a pretty arrogant guy. He's probably a good, nice guy, but he's an arrogant guy. And I think like I said before, I'm gonna reiterate, the culture changed when he became the true face, not Palomalu, not the guys on the defense. It became an offensive team. You could tell nobody's scared to play the Steelers anymore because of that. When's the last time? Huh?
So let's talk about but I want you to finish that question you were going to have before we
I was going to say, when's the last time you think the opponents have been afraid to come to Heinz Field?
Afraid to come to Heinz Field
and play.
I think there's a level. I think fear in defense is just because of rule sets have totally neutered that in terms of a fear with defense. I think it's more of a very mild dislike really across the league, but I'd have to say probably 2012. That was back whenever James Harrison was sitting around there and they were still trying to clean up tackle rules in the NFL,
right?
In I think futile way to eliminate concussions in this league. Yes, should there be better tackle protocols? Mm-hmm. Should there be an attempt? Yes, but in terms of that, whenever big hits that are like really like big hits and really it's a bang bang play kind of went away. That's when fear of defense really went there. I think there's
a bunch across the board.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of guys you don't want to play. I think the fear more goes into a secondary that can do something, a la the Legion of Boom, because it's a passing league now.
Right. I'm talking about when's the last time the Steeler mystique has been around? You know what I'm talking about, Ty. It's like I see opponents going into Heinz Field. They ain't scared like the Bengals this year. Shout out to them for winning their first playoff game in 31 years. But when they came into Heinz Field, because I was at that tailgate, and I didn't see the team go. I saw fans were not intimidated, and I felt during that game they were not intimidated. There was no intimidation factor. And that's just one example.
I really don't know because it's tough to say intimidation because it's like this is a different game. It's not the 90s. I can't if you want to say like intimidation, like man, I really don't want to play against the Steelers here.
Yeah, like the mystique. I don't want to play against the Steelers in general. Like that mystique, like they're the Steelers. Now they're just, all right, they're just another team that we can stomp like they did last night. They're like, they were a team that, what is it?
2011.
2011, yes.
Really 2011, because that was viewed to be the final run of the Steelers defense as we knew.
The year of the Tebow game.
Yeah. They still had their linebacker core that was intact from virtually the fifth Super Bowl year to the sixth Super Bowl year into the loss against Green Bay. That was the last time in which that team was intact, and there was still at least a solid fear of the Steelers as a team. It was really predicated off the defense. The offense, they were just gonna run you into the dirt, but Ben was coming on as a quarterback, and that's when a lot of things changed. When Ben truly came on as a quarterback, that's when his team totally shifted the offense. There were signs, especially once Tomlin came in and asserted himself as the head coach, which I'd like to say is the sixth Super Bowl year. But yeah,
he was 20. He came in 2007.
Yeah,
and then he came in 2 years later. But do you think Tomlin is a superstar? Take all the non-losing seasons out. Do you think like the shine has rubbed off on Tomlin? I think this was his best coaching job. To trust and believe. I think the shine of just the luster has gone off of Tomlin the past few years.
I think it's very hard for you not to say that, because there was so much expectations going into 2020, and when you go 11-0, it's like the shine's at an all-time high. But from there, I'm not going to say that it's dimmed a little bit, but he did an all-time coaching job in 2 out of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And I'd like to believe that as much as people can say about game management, stuff like that, I don't know what this team does, but it finds a way by the end of the year to go into that 7th seed with the opportunity before the playoffs expanded to go into that 6th. This is one of the reasons why I didn't count the Steelers out as a playoff team, unlike maybe you or Chris, because the 7th seed has always been where the Steelers have been around.
Yeah.
This is where this team is at more often than not. If it has what we would consider a down year, the 7th seed is where they're at.
That is good. That's good. You're good, because I was counting them out, even though I did say like come around like 3 games that they was going to win.
7. I knew that this is most likely going to happen. They were going to find a way to win games. I didn't think they could win and lose games that I thought they would win. So that's exactly how it is. I guess that Lions game, the tie, is the one that we all thought that there's the letdown. And in a way it was. But when you look at how the season ended for the Steelers, it's 1 seed up. They go. Really, if they win that game. I don't even think that, actually. They might have been in 7th seed regardless.
Yeah. But that was crazy. But how do you think so what is their cap situation, the Pittsburgh Steelers, since we're going to the off season? I think they got about 50 some odd million in their cap.
2022. This team will have $41 million in cap space. This might be a wrong number, and they're still waiting for cap savings.
And what the official number of the cap will be? Not bad. Their main people they got to re-sign is who? Like Deontay Johnson, Minka. Yeah, I think you got to go to make a decision on Edmonds. I didn't think, because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So
there's so much they could do, and here goes the thing: it's not really like in terms of dead cap. in terms of cap saving situations, it depends on what they want to do with Tuitt and Alulu. If they really believe that Wormley's coming on, they might cut one, but I don't think they're going to do that. But that's really the lone realistic cap casualty I could see, because I don't even think Snell's available next year.
Snell's a free agent, isn't he?
Yeah, I think. No, he's got a second year.
Oh, Snell. Huh.
He's got a second year. Just
so how
barely.
do you? Oh yeah, but how do you fix this? So what do you think they should go after in free agency? Think they should go after like a Mariota? Go after?
Actually, I'm incorrect. For 2023, he is not on the books. That's my bad. He's not on the books.
So he's on. So he's a free agent after next year. So he's under contract for this year.
Yeah.
So
you take a look at the entire situation for the Steelers, I'm just scrolling up and down the list right now. Realistically, everyone can be kept if they really wanted to, but I think they're going to make some type of move with personnel.
Who do you go after in free agency? They got to go after some names.
They don't like drafting left tackles, so they don't like drafting edge protection tackles. So I could realistically see them, just based off of history, try to see if they could buy a left tackle. I think the things that I could see them doing is buying a left tackle, buying a second running back,
buying a center too.
I think they're gonna hope and pray that they can do something for Lindenbaum. And the one thing that I actually look out for is if the Bears decide to take Omar Khan, they get a 3rd round pick out of it. So I think that could be packaged in with their first to see if they can move up and get him. But I don't even know if that's enough. Talking
about Lindenbaum. So I'm guessing Lindenbaum is we would rather have Lindenbaum than a franchise.
I'll take the best rookie center over paying a veteran anytime.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's a somewhat realistic thing that could happen. But I don't know. I haven't checked the draft boards yet. I don't really start to. He's top 10.
And the Steelers are drafting 20th.
It's 20. It's not 19 anymore.
Remember, the Eagles lost. The Eagles were 9-8.
Wow. And the Eagles have 3 first-round picks.
And they could use a Lindenbaum because Jason Kelsey's getting older. They might put him at guard and then they slide him eventually at center. So that is not around the possibility for the Eagles to draft him too.
Yeah, they have a lot of situations. They might end up getting that quarterback again after all. But there's so much stuff, and the one thing that I probably want to do this off season just to build up the episode count is maybe do like a pseudo around the league type thing, so we can figure out like what people are doing drafting wise, because I have no reputable idea on what could happen right now. It's too early.
Yeah, definitely. We're talking about stuff while the Steelers are cleaning out their lockers on the south side right now. Just having that, ladies, just follow me at B Walker the Dawn and follow Mr. Polk at Press Time Polk. I know we're talking about, but we try to talk about the game, but what is there to talk about? They got their asses kicked. Like
what do you want to say that we weren't expecting this? I mean, what?
Yeah.
We just all tried to be fancy and say it's the under because we wanted to say like the offense just cannot. They're gonna lay an egg, but it's not gonna be a golden egg in that type of way.
Yeah, it was like
it was like gold is less. That's a platinum egg right now that they laid in that situation.
Yeah, but it was. I didn't say they was going to score 21 points though. I was right about that. Backdoor.
I gave him 20.
I gave him 21. I gave it the Chiefs by 10.
I gave him 20, but I thought the game overall would be closer. I thought that more situations like TJ Watt would happen.
I think they just woke up after that. Like somebody, when you slap somebody in the face and you piss them off, and they're like, "Oh shit! Oh snap!" And then they just went off. I'm sorry, Ty. That's the first.
It's an emotional day. We thought the Steelers would do much better.
They would do better, but it was.
It's the end. It's the end. It's the end. Your boy Old Yeller's most likely out.
Yeah. And
by the way, one big thing we have to mention. I seen something that said that Keith Butler's contract is potentially expiring.
He's not going to be here. He's out of here. He's out of here.
Oh my God!
You know what our certain colleagues say about Steelers coaches. They retire and their contracts conveniently expire.
Man, I swear this team like Tony Khan took a few ideas from the Steelers front office in terms of letting guys go. Like he'll let their contracts expire and say, "Yeah, have a nice time."
Oh yeah,
he really followed the Steeler way in that way. Now the rest of the Jags got to do that, but that's another story.
Yeah, I think he needs to take that to Jacksonville. His contract, conveniently expired. Who do you look for if say that his contract is up? Do you go in house? I say you said we go after Vic Fangio.
I think that would be the best possible way. They need a splashy hire. They need some true splash out there. I think at both coordinator positions.
Yeah. But who would they have an offensive coordinator? They need to and I heard some crazy rumblings that they was talking about. They was talking about if something happens, because with he's a Yinzer, Pittsburgh guy, McCarthy.
I do not want Mike McCarthy anywhere near the Pittsburgh Steelers organization.
You don't want it?
No.
Me neither.
That was an all-time choke job yesterday. That was shared. That was an all-time choke job off play calling. Dak Prescott off pure execution.
Ugh.
Of that entire situation. You hand that off to the line judge or whatever judge in that situation. Is it the back judge?
Line judge.
Line judge. Okay.
We didn't even know that was a thing that you're supposed to do. Because it just everything goes bang bang. We just didn't figure it out.
Because they're gonna check the spot, because they're gonna obviously check the spot for everything. They're not just gonna allow you to place it whatever, because that creates a situation of gamesmanship and trying to get one over.
Yeah.
They call it a game of inches for a reason. 1 inch back and 1 inch back, 1 inch forward, one to the left, one to the right. And there's a lot of things in NFL history that could change. It's like the multiverse out there. You move a chair and suddenly someone's speaking Spanish instead of English as a first language. That's how it is in life and football, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in terms of that, because I know this, every single Inzer, the second the Steelers, because I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs next year. At this moment right now, I don't think they're gonna make it. And every single Yinzer, the second that Steelers team gets off to a bad spot, they're gonna be calling for Mike McCarthy to be
the head coach.
And I'm sorry, a guy that can only you let a guy that had Aaron Rodgers for a decade,
12 years,
and he only won one Super Bowl and one MVP. He gets a completely new head coach. He didn't really change much between personnel. He's got 2 of the last 3 MVPs ready to go. And also, he's been the number 1 seed or close to it for the past 3 seasons. You cannot sit there and make me go, why? Why would you want this guy whenever you take a look at it?
Yeah, why? It's just crazy. But who would what offensive mind would you want, though? Because Canada ain't it. He ain't it.
I don't know, but I'm going to continue ranting about McCarthy.
Go ahead.
Jason Garrett is out of this league right now. There's certain situations where as a coach in this league that if you get fired from, most likely you're not coming back.
Steelers, one of them.
Steelers would be a massive red flag because when you have 3 coaches for the better part of 50 or more years, the number escapes me.
Yeah.
You get fired from that, and they don't fire anyone.
Yeah. They'll
let you run off. They'll let you have the benefit of the doubt. If the Steelers fire someone at this moment, unless over the next 10 years they get a new head coach and then, I don't know, maybe a new ownership, maybe Fenway decides to buy the Steelers and they start getting trigger happy with firing coaches.
Yeah.
That's not something you could come back from.
Yeah, it's like Green, and plus I'm surprised he actually got another job too. Green Bay is like one of those type of franchises too.
Yeah.
Green Bay, New England is another one.
Plus, he's known as a liar in his press conferences because he said he analyzed every single snap for the Dallas Cowboys.
I knew that was bullshit.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like the Aaron Rodgers situation with COVID. It's a phrasing thing. Like we know, but Rodgers is much egregious in terms of a public health situation. Yeah. His is in terms of you just don't do that on a job application like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I know that for us it's low leverage, so we could probably get away with skirting on that. But if he would have said almost every other play, that's believable.
Yeah. He just said every play, every down.
And he had a freaking feature from Pro Football Focus where they verbatim said that he was just analyzing every possible coaching situation he could go to for a year after he got fired from Green Bay.
Yeah. He probably was analyzing, but
he probably did analyze every team. But there's 24 hours in a day, and eventually you're going to enjoy unemployment, especially when you've been coaching for a hard 10 years.
Years. Plus, it like stuff like you're an assistant for about 15, 20 on top of that.
Yeah.
He's been coaching for 30 years. Like
you're not I mean there's dedication and then there's just lying to yourself at times.
But I know who's going to enjoy retirement. Even though I was pissed that he got fired, David Culley, he gets $17 more million.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the group chat. And I guess programming note, we're basically going to transform this podcast into Around the League with a Steelers focus during the offseason. Stick with us the entire offseason. We're also going to have some Maulers crap because we're football junkies and we just can't get enough. But anyway, and it has a team and it has a name attached to the city, so why not? But in regardless, I mean, if he's gonna enjoy retirement like that, I mean, for 1 year, actually doing against all odds and all expectations,
4 wins,
solid job. I'm pretty sure if he wanted to, he probably could parlay it back into another special teams coordinator gig. It works with.
He's a receivers coach.
Receivers coach, actually?
Yeah, he's a receivers coach. I mean, the Ravens could probably take him back.
They could use all the help. They could use all the help in terms of building proper receivers.
Yeah, they can use the help.
But even though Rashad Bateman, I thought he did a fine job.
No, he's a good.
But he was a rookie.
Yeah, but they need. We're gonna have stuff like around the AFC North, like stuff like that during the offseason. Stick with us. I know we're just talking, and I know you want to hear more about what happened, but come on. Like,
you watched
35
that.
points, and it was over. 10 minutes of game time.
They allowed them to score 35 unanswered, including 21 straight. They had 21 straight in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the all-around dominance coming back that they had whenever they did it against the Texans and the Titans, and to an extent the 49ers in their Super Bowl year, but it was pretty good.
It was just like toying with them. I think they was just playing around the first.
The fumble came off a Wildcat. The fumble return for a touchdown came off a Wildcat.
I don't know when's the last time Andy
I don't know why we got hyped, because it was like, here's something incredibly dumb.
Yeah.
And it worked out in their favor. So naturally, you're going to get hyped.
Yes. They were like, oh my goodness. They got hyped. They got the fans hyped. Here we go. Everybody's playing this song when it was 7-0. Touchdown. Deontay drop.
Heck, we were trying to play in Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm like, and I didn't I say it during the color cast? I'm like, you know what? Even when they dropped it, they're going to score. They're going to get a 3-and-out, and they're going to score again. And they're
going to score before the half.
No, yeah, they score when they come back. And then they do it when they came back. And they scored. And then Najee fumbled, and then they scored. It was
I'm going to say this. At least there was getting their they got their hides tanned, but it wasn't like the sheer dominance that was New England versus Buffalo. That
they were having fun.
That was certified ass kicking.
Was like, huh?
That was a butt kicking. I'm not gonna say that word.
No, you can say no. That was 20 years of frustration.
That was 20 years of frustration, and I so wish the Steelers would have had something like that.
It was 20 years of frustration.
That was more. That was like.
We own this division now,
old man.
No, it's like, nah, you're our bitch now. After you guys, you are now the bitch of us.
That was
it was bad. Big guy touchdowns. It was
both
like
teams at him.
I was like, God, dog,
I'm gonna say
man,
this. Like, look, the Steelers got beat down, but there was at least a point in time where we're like, oh, okay, all right. There was no chance off the bus.
They were waiting for that. They were like, and they kept going.
They were like, oh,
they were running it up.
They were like, oh, you're just gonna have your rookie quarterback pass 3 times. All right.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It was
Josh Allen is a bad man. I'm just gonna say that right now. He was throwing that stuff in the wind. Mac Jones, you got to go. Mac Jones, you better be calling up your ancestor Tom Brady and getting into that TB12 method.
Yeah, like trust me, and it emphasized how they need to find a franchise. The Steelers need to find a franchise quarterback and quick.
I would want Bryce Young.
Huh?
I would. I mean, to not steal another quarterback off the Alabama tree, but. If the Steelers decide to do what they
should have done and tank,
well, they're never gonna all out tank like that. They're gonna be again. It's gonna be a sexy tank, but they're gonna
like a 6-11 tank.
Yeah, they're not gonna they're not gonna go full out like that. You're asking a franchise that hasn't posted a 5-win season since the 1980s to do that. That's not happening.
I know. I'm still here. But so you think it's going to be yeah, I think we don't know. We can't judge what's going to go on for 2000. Hell, this season ain't even over. But it emphasizes they need a dude. Buffalo has a dude. Kansas City has a dude. The guys across the river have a dude. You know, yeah,
no matter how bad you feel about Lamar Jackson, that's an MVP winner.
MVP, yes.
That's an MVP winner and a dude.
Yes. Matt Jones could be a dude. He has. I think more that game was less about him. I don't think it was really his fault. I think it was just a lack of overall talent on New England's standpoint.
They try to buy. Here goes the thing. I can see the Steelers do something very similar. Buy their way back into playoff contention and still end up at square one.
Yeah. I think that's what New England did. What New England needs is, I'm not going to talk about what they need help with, but New England needs athletes. They don't have the athletes.
They don't know how to. They're still drafting wide receivers like they have David Givens and Troy Brown.
Yeah.
And who else? Deion Branch out there.
Yeah.
That was fine for the early and mid 2000s.
They need one of them Bama boys. They need one of them kids from Ohio State. They need you get what I'm saying? They need guys that will tear the ball off the roof off you know what I mean. Blow the top off the defense all day.
I'm borderline. I want to believe that a different quarterback creates a different situation for the Steelers next year. But, man, Deontay Johnson makes me just go – the importance of a sports psychologist, and he's acting up on Twitter earlier today.
Oh, what did he say?
I don't know. I don't know. I noticed one
slick stuff off his mouth.
Yeah, and I'm just like, the importance of a sports psychologist is so – I think that this should be a case study that in terms of mental health, it's not just mental health professionals as well. A sports psychologist probably could do wonders for this team right now.
Yeah. And they need to stop messing around and take the game more seriously. Like people like Claypool. I have had I'm not going to go out and say about what they do, but they frequent the bars on the South Side. But they told me, Aunt was telling me not to say that.
I'll put it to you like this in terms of the Steelers and stuff like that. During the Super Bowl era, they were doing that, and that's fine. But when it's time to clock in, you're locked in. That's all I want.
Yeah, but they're not. That's the problem. What you see, they don't. I mean, Hayward's great. He's a great leader. I don't know. Watt's a great player. I don't know how good of a leader he actually is. I think he might just be one of them type of guys that balls out, leads by example, works hard. But I don't think how much of he's a vocal leader, lead the way. Him and Hayward, I think Hayward might be one of those guys, but I'm not quite sure. I think that's the issue. We had, back in the days, they had guys that will go into the locker room, close the door, and grip your ass up, say, get on your stuff. You can do whatever you want. Get on your stuff when you in the locker room, on that field, and in that practice facility. I don't think we had that.
I think that might be something that changes. I know that they do this second half comeback stuff, and I know for the first game of Big Ben's farewell tour, they actually went and showed up. But I think it comes down to this. I still want Mike Tomlin to be the head coach of this team, but I think he can afford to be. I think he's garnered himself enough leeway around the league, and even with this own team, that he can afford to be more of a disciplinarian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is never how he's been. You can't change it up after 15 years, Ty.
I don't think you can change it up. It's not necessarily change it up. But it's just saying, like, look, I'm still going to be at heart a player's coach, but I'm still going to sit here and go, we got to be ready out here.
Yeah.
There's a level of once you get off the bus, it's time to go to work. It's time for them to create a new standard so that then they could say the standard is a standard.
Yeah, because
right now the standards are kind of a little bit off right now. So I will say that about it. I think that he can turn it around because when I look at this, I point back to past history so much and the reason that this team is even in the playoffs. there's something along the line that makes this team eventually wake up and say, we got to get it done. So I think that it's possible that maybe if he's not afraid to say, like, to be a little bit more hard-nosed while still creating that vibe around them that, hey, I'm a coach for you as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of balance because he's not a Belichick disciple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to come in there and be Bill Belichick 2.0. He could still be Mike Tomlin. It's just that the situations with Deontay in which there was drop issues last year, and even sometimes whenever he took Claypool out and stuff like that, don't be afraid to send a message more.
No.
And it doesn't have to be in personnel decisions. You can actively say those words if you want to. Because I'm willing to bet right now he's got ownership's hand. And I know it's tough in this league if you lose a locker room. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt where I say, if you've been doing this for 15 years and you haven't lost the locker room, I think there's a level that you can go and still see if you can still keep that.
So, yeah, that's what I mean by Tomlin shit. It's the key for now is to Tomlin to get control of this locker room. And a way to do that, like I said, like during my article last week, is give them personnel power. Make them head of the football operations. So, but because what if Khan goes to the Bears and maybe takes Brandon Hunt with him? That's the director of scouting for.
Are they thinking? Oh, so are they?
They interviewed him.
So for the Bears, it's not just a typical GM. It's a football personnel.
They're interviewing for GM. They interviewed him for GM.
I think maybe there's a little bit of a disconnect between us, but when I think of football ops, I think of it like John Elway, and then there's and then there's an actual.
You can have a GM. No. I'm not talking about that. See what Belichick does?
Yeah,
he has personnel.
He has a GM, but he has
GM powers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Say like, he can be the head coach, yes, but he has say in a lot more say than your average coach on who gets drafted and stuff like that and who they bring in.
But wouldn't that lead into headway with a lot of people say about his assistants? Who's in charge of getting the assistants? Is it Tomlin or was it Colbert?
I don't know.
There's
been a lot of debate about that. But since Colbert's going to be gone,
yeah,
it's going to be Tomlin's team anyway. Unless they want to bring someone in.
There's no doubt about that because he's going to be dealing with a rookie GM.
Yeah. So
he has a rookie GM, so yes, it's going to be Tomlin's team. But the question is with that, if we're going to name him football ops, I'd like to know, like, how much autonomy did he had in terms of selecting assistants, selecting coordinators? I
don't know.
I imagine he had some because there was a frequent mention of promoting from within, and my belief is unless that coach was incredibly successful, you do not that's leaving for another job. You do not promote from within. For example, I wouldn't be mad if the Steelers promoted from within if they were to lose both Khan and Hunt.
Right.
I wouldn't be mad in terms of that with personnel because anyways with it would lead credence into you saying Tomlin's most likely going to be football ops. If both leave, you could just basically wrap it up and say it. If one leaves, that puts a thing. Maybe if none of them leave, he's probably going to have some things. But I don't know how much power he has because I don't know how the Roonies think.
I know, but they got to change the way they're thinking, or else. I told you, if I were Tom, and I would go on another team. I would threaten to put my feet to the fire to the Roonies to say, look, to get what he needs to make this team successful post Ben. I would put their feet. I say, look, if I can't get some personnel say, trade me. The Dolphins would probably want to have him. The Bears would probably want to have him. The New York Football Giants would have.
That would be their best shot right now as constructed to get a first-round pick, because that's a head coach. It's worth a first-round pick. I know that people want – I know this. There's a lot of Steelers. There's a lot of Tomlin haters right now that if the Steelers would have got a first-round pick off of him right now for a trade, they'd love it.
You mean Tibor, NFL Tibor on Twitter?
Yeah. There's a lot of those guys. There's a lot of those guys. Hello, other Steelers channels. How you doing? But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that could go on in this situation, but Tomlin did have a contract extension, which I don't know. I think coach's salary is completely off the books from regular player salary cap situation. So it's always a possibility, but I think the best shot at trading Tomlin as a coach was with the Washington football team.
Yeah.
That was the best situation for them. The Dolphins by extension probably would be number 2, because Tomlin walks in with a rookie quarterback who doesn't have the pedigree of Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, but there was a lot to say about Roethlisberger as Tomlin became the head coach anyway, because it was still in that situation. It's like, I don't know what we got with him, really. You know what I mean?
Remember, that was fresh off his motor vehicle accident and all that stuff.
Yeah, because there was what a lot of people don't remember, that people were still a little bit gun shy off of Roethlisberger anyway, because everybody remembered just how poorly he did in that Super Bowl, but we remember how good that playoff run was before that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There was no question he was a franchise quarterback, but the question is, like, what was the echelon he was going to be in there?
Yeah.
I think
that's what
because Phillip Rivers was just getting started at that point, because they just got rid of Breeze afterwards with that, and he had that great season in San Diego.
Yeah, because Rivers took a couple years. He was 14 and that was that year when they just fired Marty Schottenheimer, right?
Yeah, they were.
Yup.
The 06-07 season when Tomlin came through, because then they hired North Turner, and then with the Giants they had Coughlin, but Coughlin was in his annual "I'm about to get kicked out of this building" phase, which he always goes through, and Eli he was pretty serviceable, but he was good, but he was also coasting off the Manning name in a few ways as well. Of course, he later ran off for that Super Bowl, but there was still a lot to be said about Ben. It was obvious that in terms of team around him, he had the better team. It was just at times, like with success and that stink from that Super Bowl nationally, that a lot of people were going like, how is Tomlin going to build this guy up? And it's clear he did very well. So I have confidence in terms of Tomlin taking a quarterback that's already there and building him up. The question with him now is that can he draft that quarterback? Or can he find another veteran to kind of bridge him in there? Because I don't have any confidence in Haskins or Rudolph.
Or any of these quarterbacks in this draft. None of these quarterbacks are
at least in terms of like where people would want them drafted. I would have confidence in a lot of these guys if they were second round picks, because the capital isn't as high.
Oh yeah, they're not. I mean, none of these quarterbacks. I like what's the name? Young, but he's not available. I look at all the quarterbacks. The one quarterback from Oklahoma that was supposed to be all that got benched.
Well, he was never. Well, there was a lot of talk about his attitude and stuff like that. So there's a lot to go into it with him as well. Howell didn't have the season that he wanted. Kenny Pickett was great, but when you look at his previous history before that season, he wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire like he did this year.
Yeah, he's an overachiever.
Ritter is probably the best quarterback out of the bunch in terms of a total career. standpoint with him. Corral has a lot of things going for him, but I think he's going to look back at not sitting down in that bowl, in the Sugar Bowl. I don't think it's going to hurt him necessarily, but it doesn't help him. And plus, he didn't exactly light the world on fire the way that we all thought he was going to either.
Oh, goodness, hold up. Yeah, but I didn't clearly hear it. But I think another one, it was Malik Willis from Liberty. We'll see. They're talking about him being like Josh Allen.
I would take it. I would take it because he's clearly marked as a second round pick. I would take him. Honestly. What? I think at that point, but if Pickett's the quarterback available in the second round, where the Steelers draft again, it'd be hard pressed because that would be like a fan move. I don't want the Steelers to be influenced by the fans. That would be a fan move. But if Pickett happened to be gone, if Philadelphia decided to take him back close to New Jersey over there, and Willis is available in the second round, and they're not getting the offensive lineman they want, or maybe they got Lindenbaum in the first round.
Yeah.
QB in the second, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah. I think Lindenbaum is going to go in the top 10, though. They're talking about him like that. And then, to be honest, being the center is more important in the NFL now than ever. Think about it. And
I think with the development of how defensive lines attack,
yeah,
these
very
days,
important. It's not like you can get him in the second round no more. Like he's going in the top 10.
He probably will, and it's up to the Steelers to see if they can do whatever it takes to move up. I mean, we're going to see the final draft positioning and all that stuff, and maybe is there an opportunity for the Steelers to move up? Maybe not within that top 10, but within range, if possible.
They had him. Oh yeah, but
I would say I would be seriously looking at the rest of the Eagles picks and go, how would you like to have a pick for pick swamp in the first round? But they'll probably have to throw something in as well. I don't know.
You gotta throw in a third round pick.
That's where getting Khan, and they're really gonna regret signing back Juju in that standpoint, because say they lost Khan, Juju signed somewhere else, they have a bounty in the third round. They were going to use that to probably get another player in the second, or maybe add it into that potential move up into the first round, as I mentioned.
Yeah, especially like you talk about him. Look at the center last night, Kansas City's. He was a beast.
Creed Humphrey.
Yes.
Chris, I swear to God, has a man crush on that guy.
Oh my goodness, he does.
It really does. I mean,
it's pretty bad. Like, I was like, oh, I wish the Steelers drafted him. I was like,
we hope he's out here listening. We don't mean it in a derogatory way, Chris. It's just that you love you some Creed Humphrey, and you got to admit it. But yeah.
Plus, you're not here to defend yourself, so therefore, we get to roast you. So
no, we would have did it if he was here.
Yeah, we would have roasted.
We would have did it if he was here.
Yeah, but he was a beast. Like I said, emphasize it. Offensive line play is going to be paramount in this rebuild. And shout out to Chris, because I've never talked about anything about I never gave a crap about the O-line until I joined this podcast. Like, he taught me so much. Like, I had to get my offensive line game up.
My man played offensive line in high school. So it's important to him.
It is.
Regardless, we have been doing this for an hour, talking about assorted subjects that are not just the Chiefs game necessarily, because let's face it, everybody and their mother was watching and they know what the issues are, but we're talking about the future. We'll have a proper season recap coming out. It'll be a live stream podcast, and then we'll have it available somewhere out there in the future. But until then, I'm Ty Polk. That's Brandon Walker. You've been listening to the Renegade Blitz. Let's start the offseason.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at @RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on renegadeblitz.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The Renegade Blitz podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts.